welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comics and graphic novels and updates from the festival.
Hello, welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival episode 59. My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And I'm as unorganised as ever.
Oh, it's because of things.
I'm in pain.
You're in pain.
I've suffered for my art.
Suffered for your art.
Even though I drew nothing of this.
I was going to say this.
So I've had another tattoo today.
You have?
Like an hour ago it finished.
Yes, about that.
Bright red. Blood everywhere.
Blood everywhere.
Blood everywhere.
Wounded for life.
Wounded. Scarred. I am scarred for life.
You are now.
This is my third one.
Well done.
How many have you had?
6.
And you've just booked in for another?
A 7th, yeah.
Jeez.
Once you have them, you can't stop.
No, this one was just random. I wasn't expecting to have that.
That's the problem if you look though and you see a nice
two
one.
more planned, haven't I? I've got
2.
my Harley and I want the Chinese dates somewhere as well.
Oh yes, yeah. Peking duck. Dim sum.
Yeah, so I can just walk into a restaurant and say, that's what I want.
Special fried rice.
And what have you got? You've got no more planned over the
this next one's a little homage to the Little Prince.
A Little Prince.
So I'm having the little fox and the rose on a planet on the back of my wrist, which should be lovely.
And then you're done.
And then I'm going to have some more Ghibli ones, I think, after. I'm going to save my pennies because they'll be a bit more expensive. And have some more Ghibli ones on my leg. Okay.
If you see Nikki about and you like Ghibli, ask to see them.
I will show you everything.
Ask to see all of them.
All of them.
Totoro is hidden away in a special place.
He isn't.
You open the tree and you find out.
None of my tattoos are anywhere dodgy. So I can actually whip them all out in the street.
That sounds wrong. Right, today we haven't got Pete or Mike.
Do you know, it's getting a thing now, isn't it?
Tommy's back though.
Yay!
But I think we're going to deduct money from their wages for not turning up.
Yes. We're still here.
Yeah, so that's it. You're not getting paid this year, Mike or Pete.
Ever.
No, it's been a busy time for them so far.
It's a busy time of year.
We'll let them off. We didn't let Tom off the last episode. We abused him, but we'll let them off.
Oh, well, yeah, because they're not Tom.
But Tom's on this episode, so he'll be on in a little bit. We've also got a chat with Rob Davies. Oh. Now, I want to talk about this chat with Rob Davies, because as soon as we finished, I felt like, did I fan man, I'm going to call it, too much? I
totally fangirl.
I felt like we respect his work so much, and we'd never spoken to him or anything before, that it's like, yeah, we definitely fan man. So that might come across.
Gold over
certainly when I started it.
I think we scared him.
Possibly.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh, is it that? Right, I'm
They're
not
weird.
here. I'm not weird.
Here. So can you give us a preview of the Book of Forks, which we've been given half of the book to read. Now, I've not had a chance to read it.
He stopped it on purpose at a cliffhanger, and I am mortified and angst-ridden. I've got to wait another month and a half to be able to get my little sweaty little hands on it. So the question people want to know, is it as good as the previous two? Yes, okay. Yeah, there is no question about it. In fact, it's because, as he explains in his interview, each book is about one of the 3 central characters, and this one is about Kaz. And how we've left him on the last book. Can I say how we left him on the last book? He's been injured. I'll leave it like that's fine. He's been injured. And where he wakes up type thing now isn't where his friends put him. And he's also writing the Book of Forks. Which is like an encyclopedia. Yes, which is so you've scattered throughout. Yeah, you've got encyclopedia pages in amongst the panels, and they're so detailed, and he must have spent so much time. Well, he's kind of said he'd spent more time to doing those, didn't he? But it's like, even like little things that like, has references in it, and then it's like, go to page 46 to find out more about this and that. And so he's managed to cross-reference his own little tiny bit of encyclopedia within this book as well. And the attention to detail is amazing. So, as we say, that's out in October. Yes. I think it's released at the festival, but then it's not available until like February in the shops. So, if you want it... Oh, I've got to get it. He said he's putting one aside, didn't he?
Yeah, if you want it, you've got to grab it from the lake. So I don't know whether it's going to be available earlier. That's what I've kind of read, but I might be wrong. We went away on a little holiday.
We did.
To
Stratford-upon-Avon.
I'm glad you said that because I couldn't remember.
Brilliant. It stuck with you then.
We saw the house that Shakespeare was born in.
Yeah, we did. We didn't pay the entrance.
You weren't interested in that, were you?
I'm not
what were you
bothered
interested
about
in?
Shakespeare. We went on a ghost tour.
Oh, you see, I was more linking towards a Christmas shop first. It was straight opposite.
There was a Christmas shop opposite Shakespeare's house next to the Hogwarts shop.
And the Beatrix Potter shop.
And the Beatrix Potter shop, which I got really upset about, but then I realised we have a Shakespeare Centre here, so I'm less worried now. And then, Christmas shop, which obviously I went round. Mm-hmm. Actually, where did I put that bauble I bought?
I have no idea.
Brilliant, lost that. It was very expensive, but it was very lovely, and I did walking around in August listening to Christmas music.
And then you went on a ghost tour?
Then I went on the ghost tour.
I say you, I also went on it, but I'm not quite as excited as...
Oh, it was the best. I'd just take my money for that one. It was brilliant.
The guy doing the tour, it's obvious the town is full of Shakespearean actors without jobs.
Thespians everywhere. We saw a thespian sitting there with his rabbit on the street.
So there's not enough room for them to go and act in plays, so they do stuff like this.
Yes. And Ebenezer, awesome name as well. And he looked like an Ebenezer.
He did. He
was a bit like, who's that guy who used to do the Crystal Maze?
Scrooge.
It was a bit like Scrooge. It was a bit like the guy who used to do the Crystal Maze. What was his name?
Richard O'Brien.
Thank you.
With a beard.
With a little tiny goatee. And there were 16 of us. 4 people had to leave because it was so scary.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
I'd say only 15 minutes because he took a 10-minute talk before we got to the next room and then they all liked it.
Yeah, and then they couldn't cope anymore with the oppression and the spookiness.
My opinion was, it wasn't scary.
It was awesome though.
It wasn't scary. Oh, my arm's hurting. It wasn't scary. That's a ghost.
Did a little bit of breeze hit your wounded arm?
So on holiday, I got to do a little bit of reading.
You did.
I don't think you managed to read any comics on holiday.
I wasn't. I was reading Simon Brent books. So
knowing well, I read a little bit, which I really enjoyed, of the original Turtles comic. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is where they're ultra violent.
Sort of scratching me here. Yes.
Ultra violent.
Oh.
So in the first episode, essentially, they kill Shredder.
Brilliant.
And they go out. Obviously, the cartoon and onwards, they don't go and kill. But in that, they were just like, you've upset our leader. We will kill you. Mm-hmm. And Splinter's told them to go and do that as well. So they're very different characters when they originally started, and then they dropped down a little bit in the violence stakes to be more like your standard superhero.
To sell more comics, probably.
Well, the cartoon.
Yeah, different demographic.
The cartoon came out, didn't it? Yeah. And that completely changed the angle.
It can't have then.
And let's be honest, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It is all about the money. They've got to, so I don't blame them. So yeah, that's really interesting. But the other one, now I apologise for this. I'm going to...
Are you pronouncing names again?
No, okay. I'm going to go on a Jeff Lemire Love-a-thon again.
Oh.
Every episode at the minute. But
it is a bit, isn't it?
I think this is the last one.
Okay. You have a rest then.
I've read the collected edition of Essex County, which has been out for a fair few years. It's essentially 3 graphic novels in one, telling 3 different stories, which are all interlinked.
You told me about this one, yes.
Yeah.
You cried.
Almost.
Again.
So the first story follows a little kid who's living with his uncle, and you're sort of finding out why he's there with his uncle, and the uncle trying to deal with the kid who knows it's not his dad, and the problem's there. The second one follows 2 brothers. Well, a brother who moves away from the county to the city and has a falling out with his brother. Well, not really falling out, but an issue with his brother, which they then stop speaking to each other.
Yeah, quite a big issue.
Yeah. But his brother doesn't understand why he stopped speaking to him. And then it's the consolidating of that when something goes wrong and dealing with it. And that's that one.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that got you, didn't it?
Really got me. And then the third one is it follows a cleaner, a carer for one of the old men, actually. And then that sort of brings in the stories together. The ending, not quite as good as I'd like it, but the stories throughout were more than enough to compensate for that. Was
it an ending that was more true to life, though, where you don't get the
Possibly
ending you want,
it wasn't. Yeah, it was nothing special.
The ending you would get.
Almost, it was just but there's enough in there you can forgive that. It's a bit like the Underwater Welder in the sense of it's all about family and drama and care, and it's yeah. He's a very clever man. Mm-hmm. He's a clever writer, and I love his style of art. It's different. Mm-hmm. It's not your standard. You know, his characters are odd looking a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a genius, and I'm going to say that.
Genius.
He's actually a genius writer.
Genius.
The books he creates are just so different each time. You know, look at Black Hammer, he didn't draw that, but the writing in that is fantastic. He is, yeah. We need to interview him. Shame he's so big that it's hard to get in touch with him. But yeah, he will be one I think I'd love to aim for next year.
You're going to fan man over him as well.
I would do. But yeah, now the other big thing that's come out that I'm very happy about is the Joker.
Oh,
the Joker movie.
Yes.
Quite a journey, I think. In the same as me, you know, when it first announced, it was a case of it was as the DC universe was sort of collapsing up on itself on the movie side. It's like, really, they're going back to standalone films again. So that was the first meh.
And also, do we need a Joker?
Do we need a Joker origin
story
as such? But then since then, you've had the comics or the about to come out where there's actually meant to be 3 Jokers.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, in that case, you can have origin stories because it doesn't mean that's the Batman Joker, the definitive Joker. Mm-hmm. And then the first trailer came out and it was a bit like, not sure.
Well, because you empathise with him, and that was a bit...
No, that was the second. That was more the later one. The first trailer was a bit, not sure. Can't work out.
Where he gets beaten up, isn't it?
It didn't show massive amounts, but you couldn't work out what was going on. But then, yeah, trailers since have really pulled you in, and the latest trailer, which is the last trailer, really, you do care about this character. You worry about this character. This is just a trailer.
Yes. I'm still a little bit on the fence. I'm going to see it, obviously.
Well, the review states that you don't... The evil things that he does as a Joker, you despise. Yeah. And you don't like that side. But yeah. From
the trailer, I mean, we obviously haven't seen the film because it's not been released yet. But from the trailers, I feel that it's showing that it's the world that makes, it's the people that make him. I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't, because I say he's got that mental illness type of, wanting to be evil anyway in there. But it's almost like the world around him has created this to come to the fore.
But in the comics, it's the creation of Batman that creates these supervillains. Yeah. So again, that is a world.
The world creating.
The world creates Batman, and then because Batman's gone to that next level, he then essentially creates the villains. They've got to match him.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how it. To see it.
It's being classed as a masterpiece.
It's not, we've seen
this that. It's not your standard. But then
that's good. You don't
about
want
the Batman films, though. They never have been standard. I know you're not a massive fan of the Nolan trilogy, but it's not a standard set of superhero films.
No, because they are grittier. They are darker.
It's almost as real world as you're ever going to get for superhero films. Even the Tim Burton 2 were very different to your standardised superhero films.
They're definitely a darker world, and it doesn't shy away from that darkness, which is good, really.
And this is where I've said it before, I don't think a Justice League will ever work with Batman in a movie base.
Because
comics are different things.
Because the other characters are too superhero, like your standard superhero thing.
He doesn't work in that sort of movies. I'd be amazed if anyone can do it.
Yeah, because otherwise they just trivialise Batman in a way, don't they? They make him a foil for their jokes.
They did in the last year. But even he can't keep up. You can do it in comics, you can do it in cartoons, but in film he just can't keep up with those super key characters. He needs to be standalone. Now, whether they can actually fit Batman into this Joker universe, we'll see after we've seen the film. I've got a feeling they may not be able to,
but then if his film's strong enough on its own, it doesn't need to lead into anything else.
Well, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully
they just learn and just do.
They just leave that and never
perfect film.
Never do it again. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely one to go and see.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and it's I mean, I felt it was going to be good.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I wasn't expecting it to be as good as people are shouting out about.
I'm just worried that I'm going to go in and get upset. I don't like it.
Well, you probably will. That's a
I
good
think I will
film.
do. Yeah, I think it's going to make me come out and go.
I'm hoping you're going to go and you're going to be upset. You're going to care about this character, and then you're going to grow to absolutely despise this character.
Yeah,
but still have that feeling of.
Well, a good villain is one that you can almost see their point of view. Sometimes that always makes a good villain.
You never, and I think I said this too. You never hate the Joker in any comics, the animations, in any movies. You don't hate the Joker. You see he's a bad guy, but you don't want to see him die. No. You're intrigued to see what he does. You don't
because he's a multi-level bad guy. And that's, I suppose, what this film's going to bring in. I mean, you think of all the baddies from Marvel, they're not a multi-level.
Thanos
Magneto
was very good.
Yeah.
Because there was a good story as to what he was doing.
Yeah, but even
Magneto's very different, yeah.
Yeah, but again, he's another one that crosses.
He's almost an anti-villain, yeah.
But they've given him, he has that, the communication between him and Xavier. You got all that backstory.
Then both of them were talking about Thanos and him. They've got reasons for doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
The Joker
doesn't.
For the majority, comics wise, he does what he wants to do. It's that
he just wants to see chaos, doesn't he? Yeah, we've got a chaos.
So it's very different. But then people like Loki, who is a similar style, he just wants to cause issues.
Yeah.
Be in control, whatever.
I think it's because secretly everyone wants to cause a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to cause a little bit of chaos. Not
everyone
to
wants to burn people's faces off with acid from the flour.
No, of course they don't want to do that. But I'm just saying, everyone wants to be a little bit naughty occasionally. And yeah, Joker's take it obviously to the extreme, but you can go, I'd press the big red button. Okay.
Not sure what to say. Right. Okay, so I'd say this episode will probably be slightly shorter than normal because we haven't got the team.
Yeah, let us
down. We're going to let you ever listen to our chat with
Rob Davis
and also Tom.
Yes.
And then we're going to come back because we are now getting close.
It's not long. Lakes. It's not long now.
They've now released.
It's raining, so it must be close.
They've now released the brochure, so we're going to go through the whole brochure.
The whole
brochure.
Bring it on.
And get you all excited for October, for those of you who are coming along, or for those who are considering it.
Do it.
Giving you that little
But bring wellies.
Nudge.
Okay. It'll be the hottest October known to man now, but it won't be. It'll be raining.
That's fine. You can still wear your wellies.
Wear your wellies anyway. Everyone does.
Treat it like, it's a festival.
It's a festival.
You've got to wear your wellies.
Wear your wellies.
Even though it's a festival on concrete, still you've got to wear your wellies. Right, enjoy these chats, and we're back after the...
After these chats. You can say chats twice, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, some might argue that our exhibitions range from the sublime to the ridiculous this year. We are celebrating the 60th anniversary of the little blue creatures known as the Smurfs, which is part of our Belgian focus. That will be a major part of the exhibition programme. And we're also celebrating the work of Duncan Fegredo, and specifically his work on Hellboy, and that will be backed up by a film and various Hell-related events. We have a Tom of Finland exhibition, which is all about the icon of gay art, Tom of Finland, whose centenary is next year. An exhibition by Darren Cullen, and this is the cutting-edge satire that I talked about. And we also have a smaller exhibition by Edward Taylor, who's a very well-known street artist who's now turned to a comic artist.
We have with us Rob Davis, creator of... What would you call it? The Can Openers trilogy, or what do you call your trilogy?
I don't know. A Motherless Oven trilogy, I think.
We'll go with the Motherless trilogy.
I think that's what the French publisher called it. That, so I'm going with that.
So there's something to think up now. You could for the omnibus edition. Ooh. Think up a neat little name for it. Anyway, we've got Rob coming to chat. I'd say about his new book, The Book of Forks, which we'll get onto shortly. Before we do. We just want to say how big nerds we are over your work. We've obviously speak to a lot of creators who've done wonderful stuff, but your trilogy that we're going to really talk about, it's just got us so excited, hasn't it? Every inch of the story.
Yes.
Every page, it's almost perfect comic material.
Yeah. And I've waited a long time for this third one.
I'm glad you're measuring in inches.
Well, you sent us yesterday, before this interview, half of the Book of Forks to read through, and you said to me, I don't know if you'll probably have a chance not to read this. I can tell you now, Nikki's read it all.
Oh, yes.
All right. Okay.
I've read it all, and I'm very... you can't leave me like this.
I did intentionally cut it at that point. I was like...
she's just been a pain all night and all day.
You just can't. No, it's not fair.
But we'll come back to that. In a minute. So let's wind the clock back a bit. What did you read as a kid? Were you into comics at all?
Well, I was a kid in the 70s, so everyone read comics. So, you know, it wasn't an option whether you read comics or not. Just everyone had comics. So I was reading Whizzer and Chips and all that kind of IPC stuff.
Yeah.
And then 2000 AD, I bought the first issue when that came out, and that was a big thing in my life.
Have you still got it?
Have I still got the first one?
Yeah.
No. No, I think the first 150 issues we built a camp in the garden, read them out there, and then it rained.
Oh,
so
no.
it just turned into a kind of a big mouldy mulch. I think most of them. Never mind, but you know, So 2000 AD was a massive influence. So I think I was 8 maybe when the first issue came out. So you can kind of imagine the trajectory there from sort of 8 to about 15. That was like, you know, my world really. So
yeah, as many teens. Many teens think the British side anyway. So with that in mind, what got you into creating comics?
Well, I did comics from about that age, from about 8. I had a really good mate called Sean who was really prolific at making books and comics and stuff when he was really little, and I was dyslexic, so I couldn't really read or anything, but I loved the idea of telling stories and pictures. So me and him just used to make comics all the time. We just had loads of titles, we did, and we kind of carried that on, and they got more and more serious until that's actually how I started self-publishing. Was the same two people, me and Sean. Okay. So we just carried it on all the way through, from when we were mates as like 8-year-olds, all the way through.
So how did your art style sort of progress from a young age? Did you have the natural flair with art, or did you have to really work on it?
Yeah, well, that's actually quite a weird thing. Is that when I met Sean, I didn't draw at all. I was one of the unusual kids. I was a big daydreamer, and I didn't draw at all until I saw him drawing Daleks.
Okay.
When he first arrived at our school, because he was like one of the, you know, that thing with the new kid arrives in the class, and everyone kind of goes, I want him to be my best friend now. Never takes around them, and I just went over, and it was just like he was doing magic. I was just watching these Daleks, and I think Davros might have been on the TV at the time. I think he drew Davros, and he was just doing all these like incredible things on this bit of paper, and I just immediately went and got a piece of paper and thought, I just want to be able to do that thing, you know, that kind of produce that magic of making things happen on a bit of paper. So.
Okay.
And so it was always comics really until I got to art college when I was 16. It was just always, you know, that was how I saw drawing really, was through those sort of 2000 AD artists, like Mick McMahon was, you know, my biggest influence. I just adored his work, so I used to just kind of want to be him really for quite a few years.
So at art college, did they try and pull you back away from the comics, or were you allowed to divulge in that style?
Yeah, after 2 years of being at art college, I was painting with oils because they just knock it out of you. And I had a place at Manchester to do fine art, and at some point during that summer, I just kind of realised that I really didn't want to be a painter. I wanted to do comics, so I gave it all up and instead started trying to just do my own kind of comics, which I don't think anybody was really that interested in. They might not have been that good actually either, but I was just stuck at it really, and that was so I kind of rejected. I mean, I learned a lot from fine art, but I didn't want to exhibit in galleries and have that kind of exclusive sort of number of people seeing my work and things. I wanted to make stuff that could be read by anyone. The same way it worked for me, I guess, is that, you know, because of the era that I grew up in, there was I was kind of exposed to so much great art and great storytelling on TV and in comics, and it was all just there. Even though I was a kid who kind of grew up in a house where there weren't books, and and I didn't do an awful lot with education, and yet I still had access to so much stuff. And I just thought I wanted to be one of those kind of people who make stuff that anyone can pick up and read, no matter how crazy or esoteric the idea is. It's still something that anyone can pick up.
So that sort of fits with what you went on to do professionally. Roy the Rovers, was that one of your first sort of professional, I suppose you could call it?
That was the first professionally published comic work. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we did our own kind of self-published stuff. Yeah. And in fact, the jump between the kind of stuff we were doing, which was pretty psychedelic and weird, really, to suddenly doing, the kind of national icon was a bit of a leap. Technically, it was a massive challenge. Mm-hmm. But it worked. But I did really enjoy it. I've got an echo of my voice coming back off the thing.
It's all right. It just had a bounce. It's all right now.
It's kind of weird because I'm listening to myself and I'm thinking, that guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking
about. So Roy the Rovers, that's when they restarted it. Is that right? Did they?
I think it was the first relaunch they did of Roy the Rovers. Yeah, I've been kind of like regularly since. And the bit that we did Roy the Rovers monthly. I did it with Stewart Green, who was he was the editor and writer on it. And what we did was it's kind of been ignored ever since, because we sort of took a bit of a radical approach to it and replaced Roy with a black player and had his son get into all kinds of trouble and drugs and things, and they really didn't like it. I don't think it was really in the spirit of what a lot of Roy fans wanted, but loads of kids liked it though. I had loads of, it was kind of really weird. I did suddenly get lots of like letters from little kids who were really enjoying it. So
it sounds a bit ahead of its game, almost a bit 10 years too early, maybe.
Yeah, I think maybe we were taking a lot of the kind of edgier approach of comics, in the early 90s and just applying it to something like Roy, and it was a bit of a fish out of water, but I learned a lot doing it, and it was great. I mean, it was a really weird experience to just go in the co-op down the road and pick up a comic and see my work in it. It was a really kind of disorientating feeling to begin with. And, I really liked that. But
it's quite interesting that you're talking then about sort of almost maturing Roy the Rovers a little bit and giving a bit more of a serious vibe. And then you've got, you did the Dread Lawman of the Future series.
Yeah.
Was that sort of a softer take on Dread almost?
Did you ever see it?
Not the comics, no. I'm intrigued though. I do want to find them now because I didn't know they existed.
Yeah, they were a bit. Well, funnily enough, a lot of the people that went on to do Dread and work on the magazine and all that all sort of cut their teeth on that. So it was a bit strange. I mean, we all got taken to see the movie, which was just awful. As I think everyone agrees. I don't think there's anyone that looks at that film. It's kind of one of the rare occasions where there's kind of everybody has the same opinion about a film. It's just but it was a bit of a strange feeling, and it wasn't a great experience for me really on two levels. One, that was not the Dread that I wanted to draw.
No.
And two, I think when I realised that it's a bit like meeting your childhood heroes. I was drawing what I always wanted to draw when I was a kid. I always wanted, like I said, I always wanted to be Mick McMahon drawing Judge Dredd. That was my kind of me as a 12-year-old. That was my vision of the world. And then suddenly when I was there, I was like, actually, this isn't really what I want, the stories that I want to do and what I want to be drawing. I want to do something else. And so it felt a bit odd doing it. So I didn't do it for very long. Okay. And in fact, I pretty much gave up doing comics for a little bit after that, because I just kind of felt a bit like the sort of comics that I thought I wanted to make. There didn't really seem to be anybody publishing them, but certainly not this side of, in the UK, in America, there seemed to be sort of publishers like Fantagraphics who were doing really interesting things, but there seemed to be much of that over here. so I kind of just did illustration and just wrote in my spare time, really, just kept working on ideas rather than making comics.
So what was it that brought you back then to the comic world?
I think, well, there was, I can't remember. I think it was some sort of personal issues in my life, and that came up, meant that I came up with a few stories that I really wanted to make as comics.
Okay.
And I started, but I had no idea how you would get them published, and then I think I felt that I needed to be a better writer than I felt I was, and so I applied to just write instead of write and draw, and for the it's just as the Doctor Who series came back on the telly in 2005.
Okay.
And so I applied to the 2 Doctor Who magazines that existed at the time as writer, and got taken on as writer. And they had no idea that I'd drawn comics in the past or anything. So it meant that I think I just got, I suppose it's partly coming from, like I said, a background of being dyslexic and stuff and not having a lot of confidence in my writing. I wanted to just feel that my writing could sort of stand on its own and that other artists could work with what I was writing. Mm-hmm. And it was good because I got to work with a really good editor, Scott Gray, at the Doctor Who magazine, who had a completely different approach to writing to me, but sometimes that's kind of who you learn the most off, mm-hmm. That he saw things in a completely different way and criticised my work in a way that I wasn't used to, and it made me work harder at my writing. So that's kind of how I came back, and then there was the I guess that's 2006, 2007. So, and it wasn't long after that publishers like SelfMadeHero and Blank Slate and I guess Jonathan Cape and people were starting to publish stuff that was a bit more like the stuff that you'd see in the States or maybe in France or somewhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh well, then I'd like to try and maybe try and see if I can get somebody like that to take on some of my work.
So that's when you did sort of your first sort of graphic novels. From there, then is it Don Quixote? Is that the?
Yeah, I got because I was friendly with Ian Colbard. Do you know Ian Colbard?
No.
He does a lot of stuff for 2000 AD. He draws what's it called, Brink and stuff like Brass Sun, I think it's called. Or something.
Okay.
But he's really good, and he was doing graphic novels for SelfMadeHero at the time, and so I just sort of plucked up the courage to ask Emma if I could do something. But what they were doing a lot of then was adaptations of classic literature. Mm-hmm. So I basically stood in front of Emma on Bristol Con and just shouted out different names of classic books.
That's how you get published, people.
Just there going 984, Slaughterhouse 5. Maybe. Eventually I thought of Don Quixote because I just thought, well, that's probably the most difficult and ambitious one to pick, and that she'd go for that. And she did, and then I realised that's actually the most difficult and ambitious one to pick. So that was really, oh shit! So like 1,000-page 16th century Spanish novel that I had to turn into 300 pages of comics.
So how was the jump then from moving to weekly, monthly comics to a graphic novel?
I loved it. I think it suits me, I think. I mean, I like I like the idea of working to deadlines and that kind of pressure that I have to do that to myself anyway, even if I'm doing like the books I'm doing now. I need to know what page I should be on that day, even if I'm several pages behind or ahead. I need that kind of discipline. So I enjoy that, but the idea, I just love this world of making books, so you can have a book length reading experience with comics. I find it really satisfying. I think that that sort of size, 150 to 200 pages of comics, that's just dense enough that you get completely lost in it. Mm-hmm. It takes a few hours, and that just as an experience, I just think it's a great experience. I enjoy it as an experience, and I love the idea of creating that experience for other people. And so, once I got into it and came up with a way of building a book, in the case of the first volume of Don Quixote, sort of dismantling the original novel and turning it into something that would work in those 250-page graphic novels. I just, I can't really imagine doing anything else now. I mean, for money, I still have to do whatever else comes along, but by choice, I would just quite happily just make another book each year and keep going along like that.
We'd like that too, please.
I'd like that, yeah.
Right, let's jump to the Motherless Oven then. Can you give us an overview, without any spoilers, of the first 2 books if people haven't read them yet? Without spoilers.
So mean.
Could you do that?
No.
Okay. No. I mean, so one of the great things about the books, and also one of the really difficult things about the books, was that I wanted to create these books that they just weren't like anything else when you kind of opened them and started reading them. And yeah, the ambition was, but you started reading it and you sucked in and it turns its own pages. That's why I always love books like that you go, I don't seem to be turning the page, it's turning it for me. So that's what I wanted to create. But in doing that kind of thing of saying, I'm going to have something that's not one of those books that you can say, it's like so-and-so meets so-and-so, or it's another one of, it means that, there weren't any easy sells on it. So yeah, I can give you the basic elements of the books, which I've heard you on your reviews do anyway.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And in fact, what's funny is you do the same thing that I do and that everyone does, which is just immediately go, I can give you the first few elements, but already it sounds so crazy, But yeah, it's about a world where, certainly the Bear Park, which is the world where we find our main characters, Scarpa Lee, Vera Pike, and Castro Smith. In the world where they live, children build their own parents. It rains knives, and everybody has a death day, which means that rather than a birthday, they have a death day, so they know the exact day when they're going to die. And our story starts with Scarpa Lee, who has 3 weeks to live. The first book, without any spoilers, takes you through how he meets Vera Pike, who sort of comes to his rescue, but also annoys the hell out of him, and Castro Smith, who is a real outsider and a kid who suffers with something called MIS, which is medicated inference syndrome, which basically means he tries to understand everything. And how can I get from one book to the other without spoiling the first
Probably
one?
not. We'll probably have to leave it there.
The second book is about Vera Pike.
Yeah.
So it tells her story and brings us back to where the story meets up with where we left Scarpa and Castro. See, I sort of spoiled it a little bit there anyway. But effectively, when I started with the 3 books, the idea was that each book would be from one of the characters' perspectives. So the first book is Scarpa's perspective, and so the book is framed by each of their worldview. So the first book is very much Scarpa's a complete realist. He does not doubt his reality for 1 second, which means he believes he's going to die in 3 weeks. Therefore, he must die in 3 weeks at the end of the book. That has to happen because of his worldview. So the book is just shaped to his worldview, which is quite handy because we're in such a strange world that having somebody who just sees it all as completely normal makes it quite readable. Whereas Vera is like a hero character, and so the way the story unfolds in her book is much more of a heroic story, which is why she has a backstory like heroes do, and also why she has to rescue the princess or the grumpy teenage boy. And Castro is, like I said, he's an outsider, and so he has the objective perspective that allows us to start unpacking what the world is really all about. Well, certainly from his perspective, we're still looking at it from his view. So his book has an encyclopedia built into it, so it's like a book within a book, which his own. So encyclopedia.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm making any sense at this point.
No.
But,
yeah. It certainly will purpose when people actually read Book of Forks. It'll certainly make more of a sense what you just said then. And I think that's something that jumped out with you, wasn't it, straight away? About the encyclopedia page was something different but really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the world then, because you mentioned two of the points which I wanted to raise actually about raining knives and making parents out of objects. How did you go about creating that story and these particular components within it? Was it always in your mind, or did you have to slowly lay it out?
I'm not entirely sure, but I do. I remember that. I do remember certain aspects of the thought process because it predated the first book by a few years. That idea, and I think it was, if I remember rightly, I was, like I said, I'd stopped making comics for a while, and I was working in children's book publishing, and I can remember somebody asking me to do a Harry Potter type book. And it really irritated me, that idea of, do something like something else so we can make money in those kind of ever-decreasing circles, ways that some publishers think. And it really annoyed me. But at the same time, I did think, what would I do if I was doing a kind of Three Teens Against the World sort of book? And that was the first kind of germ of the idea was, well, is there a way of doing it that hasn't been done before? And then everything I thought immediately fell into those kind of tropes that everyone's familiar with. So I thought, well, what's a world that hasn't existed before? And like I said, I don't remember when it happened, but that idea of what about a world where you turn something so drastically on its head that instead of parents making children, children make parents, and so I kind of built it from that absurdist point onwards. I thought, well, everything else would have to match up, for that world to be, for you to accept that world, then everything else would have to be as equally absurd, but somehow seem, perfectly acceptable. So I think that's kind of how it evolved. It's really difficult to work, it's that classic, author's question of where do you get your ideas from? And it's really, it's very difficult to exactly remember that, where they kind of germinated. But I think that was the original process of thought was, how can I, do something that, because I quite like that. I quite like that. Well, obviously, because I've just spent all these years through most of it, but I do quite like that kind of teens against the world sort of adventure-y thing. My kids enjoy them, and I think it's a great format. But I just wanted to use that little familiar element and do something really, really unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
You definitely did that.
Yeah, the world is, like I say, it's so believable.
But so odd.
Odd, yeah. It's amazing. It really is. Sorry, we keep just saying how amazing it is, don't we? That's basically all we're talking about here.
Yeah, but I think I see another perspective on that is that I think it was Will Self said something like about satire that the best satirists are just people who open their front door and just see the ridiculousness of everything in front of them. And I think that's how I felt when I was the age that the kids are in the book. I think that, everything about the adult world seemed just insane and ridiculous to me. And I think I probably still have that feeling to a degree, but to capture that, how kind of bristling it all is when you're 15, 16, I kind of thought, well, maybe it will feel more like a teen book when it is raining knives. And it's like, the reason that you go like, I don't want to go outside is because there are these kind of blades whizzing past your window and crashing into the lawn. And I just thought, and also I don't understand my parents when you look at them and, one's a Hoover and one's a kind of trumpet ship thing, you just, do you know what I mean? It kind of felt like a way of illustrating or satirizing reality, rather than just doing something that was odd for the sake of being odd.
So, the Book of Forks, the final book, is out October, launching at the
I
Lakes.
believe so.
Yeah. How does it feel now you've sort of concluded this trilogy then?
Well, I finished it just over a month ago, and it took a couple of weeks to sort of acclimatise to reality again. Yeah. To be honest, it was really weird. I was because in order to get it for the print deadline we needed, in order to get it out at the lakes and everything, it did mean that I was doing 7 days a week and in insane hours. Mm-hmm. So I was, but also, and if you've read some of it, you'll know there are. It's had the dual problem of not just being a comic book, but being a kind of encyclopedia, and writing those encyclopedia pages and trying to condense information and make it both filled with a kind of world building and a kind of philosophy, and sort of make it have a kind of poetry to it was really, really difficult and really time consuming. So it meant that I was, just felt like my brain wasn't switched off for a long, long time. So it's weird. I haven't looked at it again. So apart from actually when I did the PDF for you guys, that was, and it was like, just weird looking at it again, because I tend to wait until I have the book, and then the book is then it. I don't like looking back at original art so much, because for me the book is the object, it's the art object, it's the thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to just sitting down with the book and seeing what it's like. Really.
And just quickly about original art. So you did this, assuming you did it all by hand rather than a computer, is that right?
Yeah, it's a dip pen, and it's. I bought some new washes for this book. They're kind of like, I think these are watercolor washes that come in jars, like kind of warm greys. Oh, yeah. What I tend to do is, I print out the pencils in a kind of blue line, and then ink it with a dip pen and Indian ink, and then scan that bit in so I can keep the black line clean. Mm-hmm. And then I do the ink wash over and try and make it as free as I can, and then scan that in and try and join the two together. It's worth it. I won't do it again. It was really weird. I'd never really drawn with a dip pen before starting this book, and learn how to do that at the beginning of it, and then I think it's 520 odd pages or whatever it is later, I've now done that to death and I'm sick of it. So I'll find it. So whatever I do with the next book, I'll do it in a different way. And to be honest with you, I'd like to leave that style just for that book, and for that series of books. I think it belonged to them. It came out of my feeling that in order to make this crazy fantasy world that I wanted to build also feel really realistic, I wanted it to make it a bit sort of like an old black and white kitchen sink film, like a St. Trinian's film, and do you know what I mean? Have that kind of feel to it. Yeah. So the style was just developed specifically for those books. So yeah, I'll be glad to leave it behind now.
That's interesting. I like that. So have you got plans for next set of books, or what's the future hold for you?
I've got a big list of ideas of books. Okay. I might because as you know, it takes a long time to make comics. So I might write for somebody else as well as drawing something. So because I've got so many book ideas, I just don't think I'll ever have time to draw them unless I can live to 200 or something. Which, if you read the books, you know it's probably not a good idea. And I think. So I do have something. I can't really talk about it, but I do have a possible really weird idea that might be the next book that I draw, and it will look completely different to these books. And then a couple of other things that hopefully I'll get somebody else to draw that I'm really interested in doing. And and just in between, just do some sort of work for hire stuff, whatever comes up.
Superb. And as I said, it's going to be launched at the lake, so you're going to be up here in October. Have you been up this way before?
Twice. I think we launched. I think we might have done Motherless Oven. I can't remember now. I remember. I think it was Motherless Oven. I think we sat. Yes, it was. And because we sold out on the first day. I was really chuffed. Yeah.
And that's without anyone knowing about it. Imagine how Book of Hawks is going to go.
Oh, I'm going to have to grab me a copy.
Yeah, well, I'll save you one.
Thank you.
But we'll,
I mean, you never know. But it's always, it would be nice to have as many people as possible read it, and also because I'm a great believer in the reader. I don't, for all that I obviously put into these books, all of my vision of how I think it all adds up. Ultimately, I think any writer can only do 50% of the work. The other half is the reader. So I love hearing from people that read my books.
Well, we'll be coming and getting signatures.
Yes.
On all three.
Yes.
And like I say, we really do love these stories, and I think if anybody hasn't delved into this world,
they need to.
Then why not?
Yeah.
It's worth it. Just go and grab Motherless Oven.
Yeah,
and you'll be out for the rest of them.
Yeah.
Simple as.
I've just got to wait now, though.
It's not long. Not long.
I can't believe you left me hanging like this.
Well, like I said, I did intentionally leave it on a real sort of cliffhanger. So
it really is. And I'm not telling you what's happened, and I'm just holding this angst in now.
I might actually not read that PDF and wait for the full book just to annoy you.
Oh.
Thank you very much for your time, Rob. And say we'll come and say hello in October.
Great.
Get some autographs, and I believe you've got at least one panel when they're doing the launch, if not a few more. I'm not sure what you've got planned up for the weekends, but I'm sure they'll keep you busy. Whatever.
I don't myself yet, so
you're going to find out.
I do.
Super. Right, we'll let you go. Thank you so much, and as I keep saying, go and grab these books and look out for the Book of Hawks in October.
Yes.
Why, hello everybody, and welcome to Small Pressed, the Small Press review section of the Comic Art Festival podcast with Tom from That Comic Smell podcast. How are you all doing today? I always ask that question expecting somebody to say something back to me, but I'm hoping you're all out there saying, I'm fine, thank you. Now today I want to talk about a specific autobiographical comic by a certain gentleman that I find insanely talented, such a great artist and storyteller. But first, I just want to say how I discovered him. I was quite a big fan of this person's illustrations before, and he'd been on my radar for quite a while. I had been following a lot of his work for quite some time, actually. But more so recently, he's come to the forefront because he is the organiser behind the Hackney Comic and Zine Fair. Yes, I'm talking about Joe Stone, at Joe_Stone. And today I will be talking about his work, Stutter. Now, Joe has a whole range of comics out there. He has such works as Leftovers, Work, Like, Tweet, Match, Repeat, 12 opinions on artwork and galleries. He's done loads of little bits and bobs, like little illustration work and prints and everything. He's just, I find him an insanely talented guy, but also because I'm a big fan of his line work. Something that really grabbed me about Stutter is that it's really nicely laid out. It's very easy to understand. He doesn't really kind of mince about when he's saying the story. He doesn't jump all over the place. It's very much a linear path of, this is what he's got. He's got his stutter. This is when he thinks it happened, where it's went from there, how it's developed or changed as he's grown up, what the condition is, and how he's found different ways to combat that over the years, and what an amount of a struggle it's been. So much so that even the inside cover has pictures to show you Joe at different ages so that you don't get confused, so that you're able to follow the structure of the story really easily. There's a picture of him at age 7, one at age 14, one at age 19, and one at age 30. It's all laid out. Everything's very, very well laid out. It's all written in black and white. It's all drawn in black and white. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's certain parts of it in particular, though, that really, really stand out to me. Like when he does start to have a moment where he's going to stutter, the speech bubbles start to fracture and crack and little bits start to fall off of it as he's writing the constant letters over and over again. So when he's trying to say his name like Joe, it's J, but he's got it all evenly spaced and nice so that it sounds in your head the way it's coming out. It's really, really well put out. But the bits that really, really affected me were there's a lot of scenes of bullying, and not just from himself getting bullied at school and what may have caused his stutter, but bits that he owns up to that he's not proud of. There's a little bit where he's sort of saying, kids will be kids, and when you're trying to fit in and when you're trying to get ahead in school and get ahead in secondary school and whatnot, you'll just latch onto something that's not particularly normal per se about somebody and then just rip them on it. And it's like he says himself, he says it's not something that he's proud of, but when it comes to trying to fit in, kids can be mean, and it's true. And so he's experienced it, and he's been the one that's done it himself. Doesn't mean that it totally defines him, but it shapes what he is, which is what this whole story is. And what it comes to explain is that regardless of his stutter and regardless of all the bullying that he went through and everything, every challenge that he had to overcome in his life, and how it may have been different if he didn't have his stutter, and how it may have been better, it may have not been, it culminates in him being him, and he wouldn't change it for the world. And I think that's fantastic. A lot of these things that you see autobiographical comics, it's a lot of just saying what has happened and maybe stating that this shouldn't happen or this, but he's just saying this does happen, this is something that I've got, and God, I wouldn't change it for the world. And all with this absolutely beautiful line work. He's got panels that shift to the side as he starts to break down himself and how he's starting to struggle with the stutter, and there's nice big blocks of black and stuff in between the panels that just kind of bluntly explain what's happening. It just has a nice structural and aesthetic look on the page. A whole page at one point, that bit that I was on about where it's him teasing somebody and, they can be mean to fit in. The next page is just a giant black page with a picture of him in the corner and just with him saying that, he should know better. It's just that in itself, it's like him thinking in that moment, like singling himself out in that particular moment. It's so effective. There is so much about this, little descriptive pages and wee things that show you in the background, like people with question marks over their heads and how he would get a lot more comfortable around people and whatnot, and funny humorous bits he would draw in books and whatnot that just really stand out on the page. There's a lot of character in this. There's a lot of pictures of, he's had to draw himself quite a lot, which I applaud him on anyway as well, because having to draw yourself a lot in a comic, I know a lot of people do it, but having to draw yourself a lot in a comic and make yourself look authentic is quite a skill. I mean, he isn't exactly drawn himself to be this big buff guy or anything like that. He's pretty normal. He's got long hair when he's 19, and he's totally bald with a beard and glasses and everything when he's 30, and he doesn't draw himself as over the top, insanely built or anything. He's just pretty average dude, and he's covered that pretty well. He's just showing that he's Joe, and he has a stutter, and he's here to just tell you all about it and maybe raise awareness a wee bit as well. It's quite funny, he is almost raising awareness about having a stutter without bluntly telling you within the book that, people have stutters, blah, blah, blah. He's just telling his story from start to finish, and that's it. But there's such great pictures of him in school and him as a kid and everything that I really massively relate to. I found myself getting a wee bit lost in this and putting myself in his shoes. There's just bits of him sitting in a pub alone and bits of him sitting in class with everybody raising their hands and chatting and everything, and him completely silent, that I could really relate to. Even though I was kind of the opposite in a way. There's bits where he says that he was quite there was days he would go silent and stuff, whereas I could never go silent. I'm a chatterbox. I don't know, he just has a good way of relating to people. And I think it's the way that he structures the book and the way that he draws all the characters, all the different expressions and everything. It's all very relatable. It's really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I very much suggest that if you can get on over to joe-stone.co.uk and have a look for it, definitely pick it up if you can. I picked my copy up in Orbital Comics in London, if you can even get down there and see if they've got it. But well worth a look, well worth a read. You can find Joe, as I said before, on Twitter at Joe_Stone. He's also on Instagram at Joe Stone, all one word, all smalls. And I definitely follow him on Instagram. There's a lot of nice illustration work and stuff across there. Do you know what? His website is set out really nice as well, that shows the kind of designer in him. It's all really nice and neatly laid out, and everything's there on one page, ready to go. But definitely, if you can get across to joe-stone.co.uk, you'll be able to find all his work there. Definitely make sure to follow him on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're going to be in the Hackney area on Sunday the 8th of September, between 12 and 6, it's free entry to go to Hackney Comic and Zine Fair at London Fields Arches, Helmsley Place. Definitely nip on down. Have a look on their website, hackneycomicfair.com, or follow them on Instagram at Hackney Comic Fair. Oh, and before I forget, Joe was actually on the Good Comics podcast recently. If you want to hear a little bit about the Hackney Comic and Zine Fair and about Joe and his work and everything, check out the latest episode of the Good Comics podcast. Good Comics are amazing as it is anyway. I mean, they create amazing books and they're such a unique micro-publisher, but they do an absolutely tremendous podcast as well. So definitely jump across and get that. And that is it for Small Press this week. If you would like to reach me and send me on your Small Press work to review or have a look at, then please feel free to do so. Send it to thatcomicsmell@gmail.com. You can also reach me on Twitter at thatcomicsmell or at Uramyx, Uramyx. Send me a DM or send me a tweet. I would love to see some of your work or see some of the work that you would like to recommend. And until next time, folks, I have been Tom, and I will see you later.
Okay, let's talk the festival. Front cover, obviously Junko's art.
Yes.
Absolutely gorgeous.
We're all thinking about having a tattoo by her now.
I'm considering it. That's actually that's probably a bit too detailed.
What you mean for pain-wise?
Yes.
You're looking at it going, oh, that would really hurt.
I've come across a style now. I do like the black and red, which I've got the Dread.
Yes.
I've got this.
Yeah.
My Harley that I'm thinking of having is black and red. So, but her stuff would fit that. So I don't know. We'll see. It's a thought.
You could have it in
it's
black
a thought.
and red.
Well, that one basically is on that front cover.
You got purple and brown.
Well, you could have.
Pink.
Stop being awkward. Right, let's get next page, introduction. Could you read out the introduction for me, please?
Yes, I can. Welcome to LICAF 2019. With more creators, more countries, more exhibitions and more commissions than ever before. This year we celebrate the amazing world of Belgium comics with a special publication, Genuine Belgium Fritz. Is that Fritz? Is it Fritz?
We'll say that.
Right. And a comic all about Belgian beer. We also focus some of our attention on horror and areas of comics which push boundaries and have some exciting elements of the programme to offer you, which will stop you. Oh God, I'm skipping ahead. Which will stop you in your tracks. Alongside this, there's the usual broad range of genres and events to appeal to all tastes and ages. Thank you to Junko for our fabulous festival artwork, to all of our guests and exhibitors, to our partners and funders, and to our loyal and enthusiastic audiences, without whom the festival would not thrive.
But in particular, the podcast, because those guys are amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely written there. That's definitely there, yeah. Ian and Nikki, absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we go on to the 2019 guest list, which we're not going to read, but if you...
Because we can't pronounce some of the names.
Because it's too long.
And it's long.
So go on the website to see the full list, but it is a fair whack of names.
Yes.
Whack a names. Bring back whack a day. Next page, festival pass and ticket information. So let's go quickly through some prices so people have got ideas.
Would you like me to do that?
So for the weekend pass,
standard is £35. Students and under 16s, £25. And this gives you access to all daytime events on Saturday and Sunday.
The Saturday pass.
Access to all daytime events on Saturday only. Standard £22. Students and under 16s, £17.
And the Sunday pass.
Access to all daytime events on Sunday only. Standard is £19 and students and under 16s, £14.
Now, if you're a comics professional or someone who's really wanting to get into comics, you've got the next one, the Comics Up Close Pass.
And access to Friday comics up close sessions only. Standard £20. The cat's in the way. Students and under 16s, £15.
So these, we'll get into those in a minute when we get to the page that tells you all about them. Then you've got the Friday night gala ticket. Just blooming go to that if you're coming up.
Oh yeah, we are. That's a separate ticket required for Friday night gala event. A standard at £8 and students and under 16s, £5.
And finally, I'll just quickly go through. There's some cinema things. Cinema film. There's some cinema films going on. Some of them cinema films.
A separate ticket is required for festival films, and the ticket price is £6. And the Friday double bill, where they're showing two films back to back, £9.
So that double bill of films is sort of linking with horror.
It is. And Shaun of the Dead.
Obviously with Charlie Adlard
and
saying
Dawn of the Dead.
to zombies. That's on the Friday. The Comics Up Close we'll get to in a minute. In fact,
that's quite late as well. So it's 9 o'clock for the first one with Shaun of the Dead, and then at 10:50 for Dawn of the Dead. Now, in fact, that will take you into the next day.
If you make it. Next page, we've got the Comic Art Festival map, which is a lovely,
I haven't. Hang on.
Lovely map.
I'm on a different thing. Hang on. Oh, I've got it now.
I got it now. Now, there's a new part on there, which we've not used before, I don't think, the Abbott Hall.
No,
we'll
not used that
get
before.
to the reason why they've got that in shortly. Right, we'll move on from there. Mm-hmm. Right, Comics Up Close. So this is for Friday 11th, during the daytime. They had this last year. It's essentially like university lectures on creating comics and much more deeper side of comic creation and the reasons why and so forth.
So if you were studying it, or you thought about studying it, or you're
a creator,
business,
so that Friday pass, it's for all day, 10 till 5. They've got multiple presentations, discussions, papers. So very different. If you're really into your comics and say into the creation and so forth, then it's well worth.
Well, you've got keynote presentations, papers, panel discussions, and a Pekka Kucha session. Yes,
now this is new for 2019, which we'll get to on shortly. Mm-hmm. But this whole academic side was started last year, and obviously it's been well received enough to do it again. So it's really interesting. We didn't have a look. May even try and pop in. See if we can just see something. We won't spend all day, but if we can nip in for one of the sessions and see exactly what goes on, we can then tell you all about it. So I think we'll have to do that on Friday.
Okay.
Right, so next page. Opening night, the Viz 150 Character World Record Challenge from 7 till 8:30 on the 11th of October.
I cannot wait.
We will be there.
We'll be there. It's my son's birthday as well. Oh,
well, that's not bad.
He's getting dragged to it. Oh, he's going to love it.
Oh, he'll love it. We'll go and have some tea first, and then we'll head off to that.
We'll go and do that.
Yeah, why not? And then the cinema. So, if you are coming to the Lakes and you're there on a Friday, grab your ticket now, because these are always possibly the best event of the weekend. Certainly as far as panel or discussion goes, it is.
They've put the best name ever on here, Norris McWhirter. They're going to dig him up. Oh, who doesn't remember Norris McWhirter? Everyone probably. As it says here, Google them if you're under the age of 45.
I don't.
You do.
You're going to have to explain now.
Dude, Norris McWhirter was who they brought out for the Guinness World Records. So it's always like, who died? Who did world records on telly when we were little?
I know what you mean. But I can't think who he's called.
Oh, that's really annoying. Played the trumpet, died of lung cancer.
Sad when he died.
But I cried. But Norris McWhirter was the little old boy that stood at the side with his clipboard and went, that's a world record. Do you remember him?
Oh, is he still going then?
No, he's dead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's just that I read it. Then we'll contact Ross and Norris McWhirter.
Right, let's move on. So
what could possibly go wrong is what they've written here.
Get your tickets for that.
Oh yeah,
because that will be very entertaining. I think we've talked about that enough already in previous episodes, so we won't go any further. Quick one: Simon Thorpe and Graham Durry, who are both major Viz creators, will be there. We're hoping to have both, if not one or two at least. Or
both,
we're hoping to have
or two.
At least one of them on a future episode.
There you go.
Right, then you got the timetable. We'll ignore that.
Yep.
Friday films we've spoken about. Saturday films, you can go and see
Hellboy 2004 version.
The original Hellboy, which is absolutely brilliant.
Or we have got Tom of Finland.
Which is a documentary. about Tom of Finland.
And The Stink of Flesh, which is on Sunday.
Which looks amazing.
Looks scary.
Then we continue with event listings. We're not going to go through them right now. That's for next episode to go into a bit more depth on some of them.
I'm looking at them now.
Okay. Right, so what we do need to talk about then are the exhibitions.
Where are they on it?
Page 13.
Thank you. Bear with me.
So,
Page what? 40. I've gone past it. Where's...
So at the Sugar Store.
I've got them.
Shall we take alternate ones? I'll go first.
Right.
The Sugar Store in the Brewery Arts Centre is going to have the Smurfs at 60, which is running from the 4th of October to the 2nd of November. As you can imagine, it's old Smurfs because they're 60 years. No, it's Smurfs, a gallery of Smurfs. Next.
Is in the intro bar and warehouse, again at the Brewery Arts Centre. Below ground, beneath our feet, Edward Taylor exhibition, running from the 27th of September to the 2nd of November. Its usual opening hours and free entry, but I don't know anything about that.
No, we'll find out.
Ooh, I like this. We're just giving you tidbits, but not knowing anything about them.
And we've also got the same in the intro bar in the warehouse, the artist Darren Cullen exhibition, which is open from the 10th to the 13th of October.
Ooh, that's only over the weekend, isn't it? In the Studio Theatre, we have the Dungeon Room.
We'll talk about this more very shortly.
Which is exhibition and RPG campaign. This is Saturday the 12th of October, 10 till 5, and Sunday the 13th, 10:30 till 4 at the Brewery Arts Centre Studio Theatre, and it's a free entry.
The Cross Lane Projects, which is... Where's Cross Lane Projects?
It's down.
Is that near the Factory Tap? No. Hang on. Nikki's running, but I'll talk about it. And Let's Go Camping with Tom of Finland, running from the 28th of September to the 19th of October.
No, it is near the Factory Tap.
Factory Tap.
Yeah, it is. It's in that little bit.
So if you look on the map, you see, Factory Tap. Pub. So you can go and have a pint and have a look at this exhibition.
You can do that.
Now, this is one we've talked about this exhibition. You're a bit like, ooh, you're scared of it being too over-sexualised, or how are you feeling?
I don't know. I'm going to look.
But we're obviously going to go. I'm intrigued.
I don't know.
See, the reason I'm bringing this is because I want to talk about it afterwards and see. Because I
can get embarrassed sometimes looking, but that's just me. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm not. I just get embarrassed at looking at all the bits. But that's just because I'm a middle-aged old lady.
So we'll have once we've seen it, we'll have a good talk about it. And,
definitely.
I don't think I've ever been to an exhibition which is sort of based, sexualised, so it'd be interesting for us to have that discussion. So that's opening 28th September, so we can talk about that before the event actually opens at the Lakes itself. So.
Obviously, over 18s only for that one.
Yes.
Because of the nature of the beast.
The Wildman Gallery, just down the road from where we live.
I know,
from the depths of the Hellboy comics of Duncan Fregredo.
Is he going to be putting them up? Because I'll go and smash my face through the window. And
so that'll be the 20th. So essentially, as it says, Duncan's artwork.
Which is amazing, and Duncan's such a lovely guy. So, and that's free entry.
And then...
next frame, Saturday 12th of October, 11 till 5, and viewing Sunday the 13th at the Abbott Hall Art Gallery, Kendal, and free to pass holders. I don't know what...
If you go down...
Oh, launch of Life by Charlie Adlard, 4 till 5, free with festival pass. I can't speak now. No.
Yeah, so a bit of Charlie's work there. Which is, I believe, the Life is... You've seen him putting on Twitter about Life drawings.
Yes!
It's a book on those... drawings and so forth.
Because I like it when he puts the ones that way. He's like the quick live drawings and you see him doing them.
It's going to be a collection of works.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I'll just quickly run through the last bit. Family Zone, the Westmoreland Shopping Centre and the Kendal Library. You got the usual family fun in the mall, which is full of kids stuff going on. Make Your Own Monster with Sally Kindenberg's at the library. You got Godzilla versus the Fatberg at the library, and also animating for teens. Yeah, all at the library. And then the shopping centre's got your tables and
the family fun.
Family fun. Mark Jackson will be there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, definitely go and bug Mark Jackson. Get him to draw something for you. Everyone asks for a picture.
Right, we'll keep going through. Don't need to talk about event listing. Oh yes, I do want to talk about one.
Go on.
Pekakucha.
Pekakucha. What? Okay.
Introducing a new quickfire format to the festival, Pekakucha, meaning chit-chat in Japanese, is a great way to showcase creators who want to take 7 minutes. Ooh. So they're basically having 7-minute interviews with a lot of creators.
of your time to show you something new or to tell you something you didn't know.
So you've got Steve McGarry, Emma Price, Ilya, Joe McGarry, Dr. Sarita Robinson, John McShane, David Manley Leach,
Famiron.
Well, you said that.
Eve Famiron.
Elions, Irene Beck Gurnason, Charles Brownstein,
Keely Wolf,
and hosted by Steve McGarry. So that'll be quite interesting, something a bit different. And you don't have to stay it's between 11 and 12:30 on the Sunday. You don't, as it says here, you can sit for it all, or you can just sit for a few.
Yeah.
They're not going to be offended if you get up and
drop
walk
in
out.
or sit through, yeah.
Yeah, which is...
So it's a kind of like, I think it would be quite an intimate little gathering type thing. It's like you just pop round to listen to them. And
no, so I quite like that.
Off again. Yeah.
Right, fine, keep moving on.
That's event list.
So then we get to the Clocks Tower, which is saying again...
I don't know where I am now.
Page 18.
Right, thank you. I'm here now.
Clocks Tower is free admission again. You don't need a pass. So if you're in Kendal for whatever reason, and you're not sure whether you want to spend money, at least come and have a look at this.
Oh, yeah.
And then get a pass for the Sunday.
Yes.
I'm not going to read the whole list of names because there's just too many.
But just know that Pete will be there. Ground floor, table 17.
Some that I want you to, if you're coming along, that I don't think they've been before. Nick Prolix. Go and see Nick. I've never met Nick myself. Michael Kennedy, obviously.
He likes my stuff on Twitter. I'll go and see them.
No. Yeah. John Harris Dunning.
Yes.
Make sure you go and say hello to John.
Yeah.
Tutton Grown.
Always go and say hello to
Yes,
Tutton Grown because they're totally great.
Clockwork Watch.
Always go
and
to
say hello
Clockwork
to
Watch.
them.
I need my hug off Corey. That's fine.
Of course. I don't know what to say. Simo is back again. Love Simo's work.
Oh, you do,
I
yes.
wonder if he's going to have his big prints that he never sold. He'd not sold them all out last time, I knew.
Oh,
I'll have to see.
You'll have to.
I'll have to see. But I'm not going to read them all because there's just too many. Then also, in the Malt Room in the Brewery Arts Centre, they're not using the Shakespeare Centre this year, I don't believe. So you don't have to go searching down alleyways.
Which is good if it's really rainy.
Yes. So you're going to have the Clock Tower and then you're also going to have the Brewery Arts Centre. And in there you've got the Malt Room. They've got an international marketplace with loads of different creators and so forth. So you're going to have more. So if you're in the Brewery Arts Centre jumping between events, you've got time to go and have a look.
Oh, yes, definitely.
In there, something a bit different there.
Oh, we're going to be so poor.
There's a page there about meeting the Belgians because, it's a focus on Belgian creators this year. We're hoping to get an interview on the weekend. I'm going to destroy all their names face to face.
Yes, I'm just thinking you probably just get away with their first names. It'll be fine. Because we're so good at doing this.
So yeah, go and make sure, give them a bit of time, come over here and just get to know their work. It's so interesting, especially European work, because it seems to differ country to country. So different from what we do.
Yeah, so, it's amazing. I just love it.
Then we will keep going through. We've just talked about the Pikachu.
That's it. It's going to be called Pikachu from now on. Yeah.
Then we get to the after hours.
At Tom's Pop-Up Pub.
Tom's Pop-Up Pub Ruskins, home of the festival evening.
Yes.
Every year.
Yes, we must go.
Friday night, Pop Noir multimedia DJ set.
Yes, we're going to be doing that.
Saturday, the Tom of Finland leather party. I need to know.
There's a leather party.
I need to know exactly what we have to do to be allowed entry into
I'm thinking leather.
Okay.
I'm thinking...
Well, I've got a leather belt. Will that do?
Maybe. No. No, I think... Oh.
And then from 10 o'clock, so I'm guessing that's probably a disco.
Yes.
Personally. We'll find out, though, for you and give you the answer. From 10 o'clock, though, is Noir Leather, which we've talked about. Joe McGarry, Luke McGarry, and Charlie Adlard.
And a host of festival guests.
So, yeah. So, some comic creators singing and dancing. Family Zone, we've talked about. Got your kids, take them to it, completely free.
Yeah, because you can make masks, create badges, colour in superheroes, decorate a T-shirt, take a superhero challenge, have your face painted, and draw a comic strip.
We never got our face painted. We need to get our face painted this year.
Okay.
I'm having my face painted this year.
Okay.
Kendal Library, we've talked about.
Make Your Own Monster, Godzilla vs. Fatberg, and Animated for Teens.
And we'll keep going through until we find something we've not discussed. We've talked about all the exhibitions. looking really interesting, especially Duncan's. What?
Well, the exhibitions, we've got more information here now.
Do you want to have a quick flick through some information?
Artist Darren Cullen,
yeah,
described by Conservative MP Johnny Mercer as Britain-hating anarchist who knows the value of nothing. I already love this guy. Darren brings his satirical, bitterly funny exhibition, Artists Alike After 2019. The show explores subjects as diverse as the Iraq War, the UK police, and of course the Daily Mail. Originally from Leeds and now based in London, where he runs War Gallery, a studio gallery of political and comic art, Dan is perhaps best known for his pocket money loans installation at Banksy's Dismal Land. I so wanted to go to that. Winning a legal dispute with Shell over his anti-Shell artwork, and the Action Man Battlefield Casualty toys and short film. In 2018, he released Mini Daily Mail, a hand-drawn satirical scale model of what he calls Britain's angriest and horniest paper. I love him.
So that's in the warehouse. And then next door, the intro bar.
In the warehouse? Oh, yes, in the Brewery Arts.
Yeah, in the Brewery Arts Centre, which we could mention below the ground beneath our feet by Edward Taylor.
Do you want me to read that one out?
Go on then.
Deep in his underground cavern, Godzilla attempts to hibernate, but there's a problem. He's not the only one below ground. The Chinese Terracotta Army, King Arthur's Knights of the Templar, fatbergs, rivers of oil, rivers of lava, and even the living dead all disturb his slumber. Edward Thomas is best known for his work with a renowned street theatre company, Whaley Range All-Stars. This exhibition relates to Edward's, Japanese paper theatre show, Godzilla versus the Fatberg, that will be presented during Like After 2019. A publication related to the exhibition is on sale at the Brewery box office.
Quickly, I'm going to read through it all, but the Abbott Hall, the next frame we discussed. 9 international artists respond to work in the Abbott Hall Gallery collection.
Oh, that'd be quite interesting, actually. So they look at what's in the Abbott Hall Gallery and then they respond to it. Oh, that'll be interesting. I can't...
So they create
what happens next.
That's very interesting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we'll have to go and have a look at that.
I was going anyway, but yeah. And then within that same place, as I say, moving on with Charlie.
New Book of Life Drawings created with and published by Leica.
Intrigued by that. Yeah. Anna Marino presents Comics and Museums in Spain, which is at the Abbott Hall between 2 and 2:30. Anna is a full professor of Spanish creative writing and cultural studies at the University of Iowa.
Yep.
Her talk about the Abbott Hall will introduce the topic of Spanish comics. So that's only half an hour. Then to say we've got Duncan's.
Oh, look at his work.
And then let's go Tom camping with Tom of Finland. So we've talked about that already. But yeah, that will definitely, we'll go and see, say 28th onwards, we'll see that before the next event. So I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
And interested by that work. It may be worth if we can get an interview with somebody who's involved more with him or his work, so we can talk a little bit more about it. So we'll see about that. And then we get to the Windows Trail.
Yay, Windows Trail!
As we know, every year, creators, schools take over the town with their designs in the windows. Can I just read a small part out? This
absolutely.
Year, highlights include Zoom Rockman, Mark Jackson, Gareth Hopkins, Charlie Adlard, Nicole Bates.
It's me, after Charlie. That's a typo, isn't it? I don't know how I slipped in there.
Jamie Barnes, Luke McGarry, Steve McGarry, Queen Elizabeth School, Castle Park School, Jim Tyson, Lycaf at Kendall College, competition winner Alice Ashby, and the Lycaf Dungeon Mystery. So Pete's also going to be there as well.
Yeah.
Got to give a shout out to Pete.
Yeah.
Host of creators.
Yes. Mine
wander
is ready.
Around the town.
Just hopefully wax it.
One day is fairly dryish, so you can actually walk around properly.
Oh yes, yeah. I'll be in the slate bar. That's not where I put my work up.
I was going to say, yeah.
No, it is. That's where my work is going, up in the window.
Then there's a page about the year-round work, so the Breakthrough, which we'll be talking to some guys about the Breakthrough project at the weekend, and also Artists in Residence of 2019. Let's keep going. So, commissions that happen in this year. So the books that are going to be coming out. You got Life, as we said, about Charlie Adlard. The Story of Belgian Beer by Luke McGarry. The Diary of Ebene Duta, first time in English, by Ilion. Edward Taylor's Godzilla and the Fatberg. Unbound obviously,
Yeah.
by Lucy, so Unbound. Barking, obviously, from Lucy Sullivan and Unbound, which we're well aware of. And also, the Myriad Edition's first graphic novel competition are sponsors as well. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that again in a mo. Right.
And you've also got Mad with Joy.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed that.
By Joyce Vermanson.
Now, so we mentioned it before about the Festival Dungeon. So they're doing something completely different this year within the Brewery Arts Centre. Open from 10 till 5 Saturday, 10:30 till 4 p.m. on Sunday. This weekend, the studio theatre in the Brewery Arts Centre will be transformed into a role-playing game dungeon room. Come prepared for some fantastic comics and art from our exhibitors, all fantasy RPG inspired, as well as an RPG taster session, which will be running throughout the go. So,
sorry, we'll be running throughout the go.
We want to give it a go.
What happened there, dear?
Injured.
Oh, is the shock setting in now?
So you got.
Oh my God! There's a bit about it. Ready?
Go on.
A misdeed has struck in Kendal, with an unknown thief sneaking into a lord's house to commit a robbery. There are only 8 adventurers who could be the thief, and it's up to you to help find out who. 7 of the adventurers can be found in shop windows around town. Around town? I'm about like you now. Yeah. Around town. The 8th must be the thief. Head to the Lycaf dungeon to pick up your activity sheet full of instructions on how to solve the mystery.
Stop before you keep reading. So this is basically going to be to do with the window camper. There's going to be pictures, I think, around the town.
Yes. On
the windows. Now, this is what I want you to read because I've read this. It's quite exciting. If you solve the mystery, there's a chance to what?
Your completed sheet entry. Hang on. If you guess correctly, your completed sheet entry sheet will be included into the draw to win a zombie dragon sketch by Charlie Adlard and a set of metal dice.
Stop the dice.
I was going to say, was it the dice you want?
No.
A zombie dragon sketch. I'm going to tell my kids to go do this one.
I think we'll all be doing this one. That's 4 entries.
There's probably a thing if you're associated with it.
But also the RPG campaign. There's a short RPG campaign to be produced, which has been produced specifically for the event by Andy Diggle. The campaign is suitable for all ages and designed for both experienced players and people who are new. Andy will be in the dungeon room at 1 p.m. on Saturday and 12 p.m. on Sunday, signing and selling the campaign.
Oh, we could get it because we've got little models. We're all right now.
Yeah, we'll be going and trying that for sure. We should dress up with metal helmets and stuff.
Okay, where am I getting the metal helmets from? Short notice, right? Okay.
Wacom's back, the cartoon lounge, a little bit different this year. It's a free drop-in cafe with a chance to see top artists in action on the state-of-art Wacom drawing equipment. You can also have a play too.
I've never managed to get through all the people to have a play on the Wacom.
This time we make sure.
No, it's all right.
No, we're going to. So yeah, that's in the cafe at the Brewery Arts. Blooming, it just keeps going. Then we have some adverts. We'll ignore them. Right, and the next bit I want to talk about, as we flick through, is the festival merchandise.
Well, I've got... here we go. Yes.
Okay, so you've got the limited edition prints. There's still some from last year available. This year they have got the Junko picture print, only 20 available. A3 print, so yeah, £20. Look at you looking at space on the wall.
I totally was.
And it's all Junko inspired this year. You've got £25, for the prints. You've got the festival notebook, £5, with nice art from Junko. You've got a festival badge, £1, and a festival pin badge.
As I've got a pin badge addiction.
£5.
That's not bad for a pin badge.
No, it's not. So they're all available from the page 45 room in the Comics Clock Tower. So yeah, so the prints they've still got the Junko print, the Dave McKean Black Dog print, the Chadleyard Lake District print, which we've got.
I've got that too.
And the Duncan Fregado Captain Peter Rabbit, which we haven't got.
We haven't got that.
Stop looking at the wall.
What? Just see what space we've got.
And then we're sort of the end.
We are.
Well, thanks. So that was our brief look through the guides, give you a bit more of an idea what's going on. Next episode, we'll go a bit more in depth into some of the talks and so forth that we usually do. But until then, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
I'm out of breath after all that.
Well, you had to talk. It's because you're wounded.
I am wounded.
You're wounded.
I'm injured.
I mean, like I say, I'm going to make you a nice sweet tea.
Oh, we didn't. Sorry, we flicked over, and I thought there was going to be a page on it.
Is it about me? Is it just about me?
The Myriad graphic novel competition, first graphic novel competition. We're hoping to have Corrine Perlman, who is the director,
top lady.
Top lady. I can't think of creative director. That's the official terminology for the 1st of October episode to talk about the first graphic novel competition, because it's a wonderful entry. Obviously, you're going to be entering, but that's got nothing to do with anything.
No.
Because I think the more people that enter, the better it is. Just for because you don't necessarily have to win to have the opportunity. They have taken other places, places work into their books. So really exciting. So she'll be coming on talking about that, as well as Myriad editions as well, I think. So, okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you all.
We will be back on the 15th with a guest, not sure who yet.
Are we flying by the seat of our pants again?
Yes, as usual. Any questions or anything about the festival, send them our way. We'll do our best to answer them. Other than that, goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.
This podcast is part of Britpod Zine, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodZine.com or Britpod Zine on Twitter to find out more.